Just a couple months ago, Victor Wembanyama faced off with Anthony Davis for the first time, and the two gave us an incredible matchup. Both scored over 30, there were countless one-on-one possessions where they each got the better of one another, and it came down to the final buzzer in a Lakers win. That was without LeBron though. This time around, he's in the mix, but that didn't stop Victor from having himself a game, becoming the youngest player in NBA history with a 5x5 stat line as he went toe-to-toe with two of the best players in basketball. The first notable play came 30 seconds in. A broken possession ends up in the hands of Austin Reeves, who has his layup wiped off the glass. Wembanyama then takes it down court himself and pulls up for a transition three, which results in a trip to the free throw line. So next time he sets up on the perimeter, Davis makes sure to sit back a little bit, to which he counters by drilling one right over the top of him. Whenever Wemby starts feeling it from outside early on, he becomes a nightmarish cover, because once that shooting threat is established, he's fluid enough to throw a hesitation before starting on a drive. Although I guess there's a reason AD is considered one of the best defenders of this era. On the other side of things, Davis got the better of Victor once, using his agility to beat him off the dribble and draw a foul. But for the most part, Wemby was just sitting back in his deep drop coverage, where he positions himself in front of Reeves to protect the paint, with the length and sharp hands to also take away a pass to the roller. The Lakers tried a few different things to keep him away from the basket. On this one, you're going to see AD sit up top as a decoy to pull Victor above the free throw line, clearing the lane for LeBron James to cut into a lob. Primarily though, they played with as much pace as they possibly could. If you can beat him down the floor by attacking with speed, well, he's not there to shut off the rim. By running and gunning, the Lakers found a mix of good and bad. This time Victor uses that length to pick LeBron's pocket. But on a play like this, Victor's forced to track AD and not let him get anything down low, leaving nobody to stop an open shooter from stepping into a three. Coach Pop called a timeout after that one, and that's when Wemby took his first break with a lead of 15-12. With him on the bench, you could see the immediate difference. LeBron attacks in isolation and gets to the rim with virtually no resistance. Instead of a 7'5" generational shot blocker, it's Zach Collins down there, so when Davis gets the ball, he's catching a body. When Collins is the one back in drop coverage, it doesn't have quite the same effect. He can't cover both the ball and the roll, so when he commits, it leaves an easy lob. So naturally, Bron and AD just spammed the pick and roll over and over again. There really isn't an answer for that. And of course, Davis can just attack Collins himself whenever he wants, once again getting to the rim and drawing a foul. All of a sudden, a 15-12 lead turned into a 30-17 deficit after an 18-2 Lakers run. When Wemby's back in, the geometry of the court is so much different, capable of covering quite literally the entire paint. As a result, when he's in drop, there really isn't going to be a pathway to the rim, so a ball handler like D'Lo really only has access to lower percentage mid-range jumpers. And when D'Lo tried to drive, Wemby shut that off for his fourth steal in 6 minutes, before throwing an outlet down court to start some transition offense. Turning defense into offense was an early theme in this game, which Victor can of course initiate himself. He finds himself with a big time mismatch on this one and attacks downhill for a chance at his 16th point from the line. That's right, he finished the first with 16 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. San Antonio went on a 9-0 run to close the quarter, winning Wemby's minutes by 12, yet trailing by 4. After scoring 16 in the first, the Lakers made an effort to keep Wemby from getting any shots up in the second. As soon as he starts to attack, he draws not 2, but 3 defenders to the ball before hitting a cutter for an easy 2 points. They wanted to deny him the ball entirely, except keeping the ball away from someone like that isn't exactly an easy task. Even when it seems like he's covered, he's still a threat to go up and get a lob. To protect the basket from these above the rim opportunities, you sort of have to overplay him, When they go to a pick and roll, you can see how hesitant Jackson Hayes is to make any sort of play on the ball, which results in a wide open floater. So although Wemby wasn't doing much scoring, the Spurs still found themselves with quite a few good opportunities. Nothing in comparison to what the Lakers were doing. Bron started by running the pick and roll at Victor, and like I said, he forces ball handlers to live in the mid-range. It just so happened to be one of those nights for the King. The idea of a drop coverage is that it leaves some space to utilize the in-between game, and LeBron took full advantage, stepping into an elbow jumper. Next time down, they went right back to it, except this time a third defender slides down to protect the middle, so Bron sprays it out to D'Angelo Russell for a wide open 3. It didn't matter if it was a mid-range jumper, a tough finish, a spot-up 3, the Lakers really couldn't miss at the beginning of the second, and when the Spurs finally called a timeout, that lead was back up to 12. Wemby checked out then, and these minutes were surprisingly good. The Lakers even brought in AD and Reeves, but started missing a lot of their shots. On the other end, San Antonio did two things right. They controlled the offensive glass and didn't miss shots. This and one by Keldon made it 53-47, cutting it down to 6 as Victor checked back in. From there, the Spurs decided to try out a 3-2 zone, which ended up being a complete disaster as they gave up open 3 after open 3. Take this play for example. Wemby has to drop to the paint to pick up a rolling Davis, but absolutely nobody rotates to cover for him in the corner. Then as soon as he's the one closing out to the corner to take away a shooter, that's when the paint becomes vulnerable, as Rui has an easy layup. When they were in man defense, AD got the better of Wemby due to two key physical advantages. The first is his agility. In isolation, he's able to step right around him on his way to a layup. And the second one is his strength. When D'Lo attempts a 3, it's essentially a one-on-one for the rebound. Davis shows off some grown man strength to get to the ball and easily puts it back. As for the Lakers' defense, they might as well have been in a zone themselves, going with the old faithful strategy of putting Rui Hachimura on Wemby while AD completely abandons Jeremy Sohan to protect the paint. I think with AD roaming, Victor was bothered to some extent. When he gets forced baseline, there's really not an angle for him to score or pass, resulting in a turnover. But I still think he had some nice attacks. Like here, he drives right at Davis to force him out of position before dropping it off to Sohan, who now has a lane to attack down the middle. In general, the Spurs were really capitalizing on the opportunities they were given. Of course, the game plan is to make Sohan a shooter, so when he's knocking down his jumpers, that goes a long way. As does hot shooting across the board. While getting torched on the other end, they were able to keep the game alive by simply keeping up. That takes us to the end of the half, a 66-59 Lakers lead heading into the break. To start the third, you once again see Wemby's ability to impact an offense's approach through his drop coverage, as AD rolls into a smothered mid-range jumper. But the Lakers had some counters up their sleeve. This time you're going to see AD start up top as Bron sets a ball screen. Then as soon as Reeves gets to the middle of the floor, Davis dives, essentially forcing Victor to make a really tough decision. Actually, using LeBron as a screener was their main counter. They'd space Davis on the weak side dunker spot and then set up their two-man game. This one leads to an open 3 on the pop. You can just see how much more space there is to work with off a screen now. D'Lo has no trouble whatsoever getting to an open jumper. My favorite part about this quarter though was the one-on-one duel we got between AD and Wemby, very reminiscent of that first matchup. This time Davis tries to bully him with his strength, but to no avail as his layup gets swatted. Right into the hands of LeBron in the corner, who's now gonna try a pick and roll. And like I keep saying over and over again, that's likely going to result in a long 2. By the way, when I say one-on-one duel, that applies to both ends. Victor comes off a screen to get the ball, then starts a perimeter isolation, throwing a crossover into a step back as he pours in another 3. They had a decent little back and forth going. Davis again takes him down low, But this time, instead of attempting to finish inside, he turns into a fall-away jumper. And about a minute later, he again wanted to set up in the post, but never gets the opportunity because Wemby's jumping the pass for his 5th steal of the game. From there, he runs the floor in transition and makes a beautiful skip pass to Tre Jones for an open corner 3. That playmaking really stood out during this quarter. Remember, the Lakers don't want him scoring, so when he gets into some action and they switch, there's a small window of opportunity for him to shovel in a beautiful dime. This is probably the most underrated aspect of his game. The corner dribble handoff gets rejected, and he throws a bounce pass right on the money, which collapses the defense and leads to a wide open 3, although this one doesn't find the net. I'm not just talking about basic passes either. He made some high-level reads. When he gets to the paint and stops short, it looks like he's about to fall back into a jumper, only to float it down to Sohan, who's got himself an easy dunk. Here's another one on the very next possession. D'Lo's getting ready to jump out, so when Victor rejects a screen, that leaves open a slip, which he hits with a look away, again leading to offense at the rim. If you couldn't tell, this quarter was pretty much all scoring. Wemby played 7.5 minutes, and both teams were over a 130 offensive rating during that time. When he checked out, the score was up to 89-80. As for the rest of the quarter, pretty much neutral. Some back and forth, good offensive and defensive possessions from both teams, so we were looking at a 7-point game heading into the final 12 minutes. The Lakers decided to open the fourth with a zone of their own, the 2-3. One of the best ways to counter this look is to get the ball to the middle and make the right extra passes from there. Chances are you'll find a good shot. And they had some nice possessions, like this one where Cedi Osman gets it at the free throw line and hits a cutting Malachi Branham, who dunks all over LeBron. They also had some bad possessions. This time when Cedi catches the ball, it should be an easy entry to Wemby down low, but he's off target and turns it over. On the other end, Braum was right back to running pick and roll at Victor, which of course meant right back to that mid-range game. His in-between play throughout this match was just masterful. There just isn't much you can do defensively when he's getting into the lane and consistently hitting shots like this. In an effort to slow him down, the Spurs tried going back to their 3-2 zone, but I'm pretty sure we all saw exactly how that went earlier. Wemby checked out with just under 8 minutes left, down by 12, and was only out for 2 minutes. The Lakers scored a couple buckets, so it was now a 16-point game with about 5 minutes to go. Even though it seemed out of reach, Victor made sure to put on a quick defensive showcase. This play starts with him closing off a drive before deflecting a pass to the dunker spot. Hayes grabs the loose ball and hands it off to LeBron, who's going to try to attack the big man. He drives baseline and keeps his dribble all the way until he thinks he's got some room to turn into a jumper that gets erased. Originally, this was called a foul, but after a challenge, it was overturned into a clean block. Bron did come back next time with another tough fadeaway over the top, which he knocks down to extend the lead to 18. But a possession later, Austin Reeves decided to show everyone exactly why ball handlers choose to live in the mid-range, as Victor drops back and takes away both the roll and finish. For some reason, Reeves thought it'd be a good idea to test him again next time down, with the exact same result as Wemby picks up his 5th block of the night. After that, Coach Pop waved the white flag and pulled his young star, having seen everything he needed to see. You might have noticed that AD didn't see the floor one time in the fourth, and that's because he earned himself some extended rest. Through 3 quarters, he had 28 points and 13 rebounds on 76% true shooting. LeBron had himself a night as well, 30, 7, and 9 on 66% true shooting, and of course the Lakers won. Still, the biggest story was Wembanyama, who finished this game with 27, 10, 8, 5, and 5. It doesn't even sound like a real stat line. This was the first 5x5 game the NBA's seen in 5 years, but there's more history to this performance. He joined Michael Jordan as the second player in NBA history with back-to-back 5-steal, 5-block games. Yeah, this wasn't a one-time occurrence. He also played only 30 minutes and 55 seconds, making it the fewest amount of time ever played in a 5x5 game. The Lakers might have won. Victor stole the headlines in a match that featured LeBron and Anthony Davis though, continuing to show time and time again in just his first season that he's destined for greatness. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this matchup. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.